Dr. Nancy McIntyre and let us learn from her on all of her birding expertise. Thank you so much.
Sure. Christina Stevens is the head of the Friends of the High Plains Refuges, which is a nonprofit organization that services Muleshoe, Buffalo Lake, Brea. That's the three?
That's the three.
That's the three. And so if you're interested in volunteer work or research or what have you, these refuges, she's the person to contact. And so she contacted me. I'm a professor of biology at Texas Tech, and I teach ornithology every spring, which is the study of birds. And she said, why don't you do a bird walk? Perfect, because this is a very, very important refuge for overwintering cranes and waterfowl that breed much, much farther north, and they come south where there's ice-free water. Ice-free, short sleeves in January, ice-free water, right? The problem is we're ice-free, but we ain't got no water. So the cranes will be very few and far between. They probably will hear or see them close to sunset flying over to areas that do have water. There are only a very few in this area. For those of you who took 54 or will take 54 between here and Littlefield, in Beulah, on the north side, there's an old gin or something, and there's a playa, and it's got water in it. There's about 3 cranes living there right now. So that's probably the closest you're going to get. So unfortunately, we had to book this so far in advance that we figured, oh, it'd be great. We'll start at 3 o'clock. We'll just bebop around here. Then we'll go to Paul's Lake, and we'll watch the thousands and thousands of cranes come in and roost for the evening. And that just went pear-shaped. So we're still here, and it's beautiful weather, and there are birds to see, and there are some cool birds to see. So what I planned on doing is just kind of walking around. There's a little campground area. There's some trees. Where there's vegetation, you'll get other birds. And so just kind of see what we can see right around the building here. And so just keep your eyes and ears peeled, and if you see something, hey, there's a something. There's lots of birds of prey in the sky. Just a few minutes ago, we saw a ferruginous hawk way out there. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll see what we can see. They flew over here. They're dark-eyed juncos. There's a whole little flock of them. Snowbirds is an old-fashioned name for them because they're here in the wintertime. They're a type of sparrow. Grayish with white outer tail feathers, and there's a little bit of water that is behind this building, and so they're probably wanting to hang out here, have a drink. They have a very musical kind of chip note. So what we're going to do is kind of creep around here and see if we can sort of cut them off at the pass, head them off at the pass here.
Correct.
It's got an orange eye, curved bill. It's related to mockingbirds. So I'm hoping y'all probably, most of y'all know what a mockingbird is. So this is one of their cousins. Blends in perfectly in that tree, doesn't it? When it sits still.
It's there.
Mr. Curvebell, you gonna sit there for a little bit and let me put a scope on you? Maintain kind of a tight group. So for example, there is a western meadowlark. There is a little fence behind that gas tank right there. There's a little fence, and on the ground there's a tire, and walking to the left of it, we'll walk up and we'll probably fly. There's a western meadowlark, which is a type of blackbird. There's a house finch on the top of the fence in the back. It's kind of reddish. If Mr. Housefinch will sit there, I'll put the spotting scope on him, and y'all can come up and take a lookie and observe it a little bit more closely. And of course the stinker flies over there. Why don't you sit there for a little bit there, Junior? All right, so if you want to come take a look through here, this is a more powerful instrument than your binoculars are. Here at the refuge, are here only in the wintertime because of that ice-free water. Other things are going to be here in the summertime. So you won't see the cranes in the summertime, but you'll see lots of insect-eating birds. So anything that you see here at this time of year obviously is going to be much more of a generalist, eats fruit, eats seeds, or as a predator, eats meat. So there's a bit of dripping water, and there's a lot of activity right here. And so what I'm going to do is kind of creep up on the left side, and that way we can look at this water, and that's where we've been seeing a lot of birds. So in the fence. In the fence is actually a white-crowned sparrow. It's a young one. The brown, my students, brown-crowned sparrow.
This one's on the water tank.
On the
On the
water.
side of the water tank.
Yeah, that's the white-crowned sparrow. And oop, there we go. And there's the house bench on top. Notice the size difference. Whoop, bye. That's what happens when you talk about their size. They get nice. They got a little zebra head. Oh, there's 3 of them. You guys got to see this. Come over here and look at these guys. Come on. They're so pretty. Oh yeah. Now there's a tumbleweed in my way here, but they're sort of in the scope. Yeah, sort of in the scope. There's a lot of vegetation. There's a white-crowned sparrow on the top, left-hand side on the fence. It's got this zebra head, white and black. There's a lot of vegetation. Horse apple, that's an old name for them, yeah. Osage Orange. Bodark. This is the fruit of them, and I'm sort of busting this one apart. It's not an orange that we can eat.
Here's one that's already open.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the seeds start. They start out green and looking like a little green brain, and they fall down, and as you can see, there's nothing really that goes after them. I've heard that mammoths were one of the dispersers of these things back in. Anyway, they were a commonly planted hedge, bodark, bow wood, for a bow for archery. Very hard wood, but this fruit, that fruit's a negative. And who knows what these little dirt mounds are?
Gopher?
Yeah, they're usually pocket gophers or something. There, you get some free mammalogy and free botany. Botany, the plant people here, you see Willa taking a picture here. These are the real plant people here.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it hangs out here? Citizen porcupine.
Super duper cool. Yes, it's a mammal, but it's cool. Not a bird. Look at it! Oh my gosh, you guys! Can you see it? Come over here! Come over here! Come over here! If you can't see it, through there. Just a little hoofing it through there. Oh wow!
That was cool. It lives out here, Dr.
Right
McIntyre.
here, y'all. I want to kind of try to be in a plot because there's a pair of birds, and I want everybody to get a chance to see. And I don't want to freak them out too much, okay? Because they nest in this area. I want to be very respectful of them, but they were here earlier. But I do want everybody to kind of be, you know, in a nice tight formation. Okay, where I'm looking is on the ground. They're in the scope. On the ground, there is a fallen tree trunk. And to the left of it is a little Charlie Brown oak tree. In between and in the back, about as tall as Charlie Brown oak tree, there's a dark tree. And they are in that dark area. There's 2 of them. You're gonna have to come over here. You've gotta come over here. You've gotta be sort of around here. Look in the scope. They are in the scope, in their beauty. probably have eggs
Yeah.
now. They may
We
not
were
have
out
chicks
here
yet.
around March last
They nested last year on the snags in the trees. They've nested here for years, or their progeny, their family. This is our largest owl in our area. Okay, you see the dead tree on the ground, okay? To the left of it, there's a living tree, it's tiny, okay? In between, behind, there's a tree that goes like this. And right in the middle, where that one comes together, put your binoculars up there and you'll see the two of them. These owls, great horned owls, they will take rabbits, they'll take skunks, they'll take house cats, they'll take little dogs, they'll take anything. Yes, they'll take little dogs. Yeah, you might be able to get a picture with your phone through the spotting scope. If you want to try that. That's my guess too. But that could be the male. He's just all fluffy and she all sleek. But females are larger than the males. I do think the female's on the right. One of the owls flew and lit in the tree behind. You can see it about 2 o'clock. Look for the dark clock in the tree behind it. Papa owl, I believe, is still, yeah, he's still there. Mama owl is still, is the one I think that flew.
Is that a deterrent to get us to go? A distraction?
No, if they wanted to do a deterrent, they would attack. Because they don't pussyfoot around. And you do not, emphatically do not want to fool with them. They have the strongest grip force of any bird of prey on the North American continent, including eagles. And eagles outweigh them by ridiculous. And yet their grip power is just, I've seen it bring a grown man to his knees. And the only thing you can do is wait for it to let go. Yes, they are. Well, burrowing owls are, they'll be active in the daytime. These guys will be active. Any owls will be active in the daytime when they're confronted with, what are you waking me up for? Man, I was asleep. Or I'm hungry, I need a midnight snack, or whatever. So they'll be active whenever. You can see owls any hour of the day.
But they mainly hunt at night.
They do hunt at night, yeah, primarily at night. Oh, and Silent, when she flew, if we'd been any closer, you would not have heard her at all. I've had them fly right over my head, and you just don't hear them at all because their feathers have little, almost like little hairs on the end, and it really breaks up the wind. And instead of getting this harsh kind of shh sound, it really softens it, and just owls are cool. Owls are cool. They have little hard red berries on them that are they are edible. I haven't died from them, but I have never eaten more than like one. So they're important tree, important food source for birds, and also an important larval host plant for a type of hackberry butterflies, snout butterflies. Boy, the butterflies this past summer were super good, weren't they, me? Hi there. All right, so what I'm doing, other than making a fool of myself, usually the time, there was a little brown bird that jumped into that little dark clump there. And the sounds I'm making, and that kind of thing, there we go, little stinker, is meant to bring it out, and it decided it didn't want to do that. So they're scolding sounds. Little birds will often call to other little birds as a call to arms, like there's a threat, and that's the sound, and that's called pishing, because that's the sound you make, pish, pish, pish. And different people have different, some people are, it's just whatever works. In the breeding season, it often works pretty well because birds are on territory and they want to defend against their nest. But in the wintertime, they're kind of like, every bird for himself, I'm flying away from here, which is what that thing did. And I've done that in foreign countries, and foreign birders have laughed at me saying, oh, this doesn't work. Like I went to England and Scotland and they're like, Americans do that, it doesn't work. I go to Australia and I'm telling somebody the story and she's like, pishing, what? And I went, psh, 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 and like 10 Australian birds about landed on me. So it does work in other places when it wants to, but most of the time you're just making stupid noises in bushes. It's great, that's pretty fluffy. Who knows they're quail?
There are scales.
Maybe scaly quaily.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think it's dove. I think it's too fluffy. Too fluffy for that. Anyway, somebody met their end here, or at least maybe they escaped.
Close encounter.
Fast food. Yeah, might have had a close encounter of the scary cat. Either that, or owl or hawk took it and took it to go.
I'm trying to think of what has that much.
Well, we have Texas pepper plant. Are they down here? That could, yeah, that's, I think they would be this far. Woolly paper.
Botany in the winter can be a challenge. Now for grasses and stuff, this is the time, but other things, forget about it.
No fragrance. They don't taste good either. All right, I'm gonna take a picture and I'll roll it over.
Out there, there's a series of wetlands, dry now, that are called salt lakes or salt flies or salinas. They're usually spring-fed. Playas are exclusively rainwater. These things, there are just a few in the high plains, had a groundwater connection. And that groundwater has dissolved minerals in it and would come up and then would evaporate and would leave the minerals behind in the evaporate, and those would accrue over time, accumulate and form these big salty pans of earth. Well, now with aquifer drawdown, a lot of those springs have gone dry. And so you've still got this sort of basin that'll collect water, and you'll have only things that can tolerate saltwater plants and insects and microbes and stuff like that. They're the only ones that'll be present, but the groundwater connection is gone. And so we've kind of created these out of salt playas, salt lakes. So on the Muleshoe National Wildlife Refuge, there's Paul's Lake, which still has spring flow, and it's on the east side of Highway 214. And then there's Goose Lake and White Lake. As y'all first drove in, to your right is Goose, and this is White Lake. White because of that salt pan that you can see. And during times of high rain, these are the areas where the cranes will spend the night. They like to spend the night with their feet in the water. That way they can hear a coyote or something come splash after then during the day, they'll go out and they'll forage in the fields. And then they'll come back here at night. But unfortunately, this is dry. Goose Lake. No goose, no lake. Paul's Lake has two portions. One is on one side of a spillway and one's on the other side. And the big part on one side is dry. And that's the place where there's for those of you who've been here before, there's an overlook, there's a porta potty. And that's where you really go to see the cranes. The side on the other side of the spillway is deeper, it's closer to the spring, and it's wet. And there were two gadwall, and that was it out there. So I don't think it will be particularly fruitful to go to one of these expecting to see cranes. But you can see other things, like I saw there was a harrier hunting at Paul's Lake. There were some loggerhead shrikes flying around. So, I mean, there's different things. So if y'all want, we can go on that side, or we can sort of continue to bebop around here. Okay, so what's your pleasure? I've shown you my ace in the hole. I've shown you my pair of owls. So everything is going to be gravy for me. And we got a bonus porcupine, which is totes great. So,
I'd love to see the other areas.
okay. Then what we'll do is we will caravan. These guys are prairie dog specialists. They'll also take rabbits. They are big hogs. All right, meanwhile, curve-billed thrashers still there on that brush pile. There might be two of them. Okay. All right, gas hawk, yes.
Classic 747.
So the curve-billed thrashers on the brush pile, on the far left-hand side. I'll put the scope on it. Here we go.
I saw it.
Here it is.
Right here.
On these plants, these fluffy white ones here. And crush them and smell them. They smell vaguely like blueberries or fruity pebbles. So silverleaf blue stem. People are like, I don't believe you. Yeah. You're not strong at this time of year?
Oh, wow.
I wasn't lying to you, Kelly. You look at me like, no. Yeah, see?
Crush it with your hand.
Yeah, the white, fluffy, fluffy toppy kind of stuff.
Hand sanitizer is overpowering. You know this because it's
That's all right. Buffalo gourd or coyote gourd. They are not. They do not smell good. Let's put it that way. Where's Willa? Where's Daria? They can probably tell me all kinds of trivial pursuits about this nonsense.
Huh?
Do what?
Cucurbitaphyllotodissima.
See, there we go.
It's also known as stinking gourd. You never want to walk through it unless you want to reek for the rest of the day.
There you go.
But it's a really cool plant though.
Mhm.
The tap root system can get about 4 to 6 feet deep, and we dug up one at the landmark. It was about this big, probably weighed about 15 to 20 pounds. So, and it's all underground, and then it just comes up in the spring and kind of just funnels out a little bit.
See the seeds, just like pumpkin seeds. Well, it's a relative to pumpkin, obviously. And vine, and it grows feet.
If it does have something to climb up, it will start, scaling up this
Still
fence.
stinking this time?
Not really. It's just more.
No. Smells like dried pumpkin. Old, I can do this. If these were active nests, this would be verboten. But this is an old nest. Nobody's home. You're gonna come down and not break. Don't bust on my head either. There we go. So you can see here. Take the little leaves out. Right there. And look how tightly this is woven. All of these plant materials, all of these leaves and twigs. I couldn't do that with a pair of knitting needles, and these birds did this without opposable thumbs. I mean, this is just amazing. Now, as to what species did this, It could be a Bullock's oriole. It could be a warbling vireo. It could be a lot of things. I don't know what the answer is. But I mean, it's quite firm and tough. I mean, that's pretty cool. Here, touch it. Take it. Now, in the breeding season, as I say, that's verboten because you'd be, they'd come back and be like, "Where's my house? My house is gone." But also, you don't want to do that in the breeding season because lots of birds have parasites. They have mites and things, feather mites. And if you've ever had like a bluebird box, bluebird house, or anything like that, and gone to clean an old nest out, those little nasty mites will get on you and it'll just give you the heebie-jeebies. I mean, or if a nest gets blown down during a storm, so if a nest gets blown down, the best thing you can do is put it back up in a tree. And if you find a baby bird, put it back in the tree. It's an old wives' tale that the mama bird will smell you and abandon the nest. No. If the bird is naked, blind, helpless, or if it lets you catch it easily, pick it up and put it in the tree or as best you can. Later on, the little birds will be naturally, exploring and bebopping around and stuff. Let them be. But if you find a nest that's blown down, put it back in the tree. But then make sure you don't, go wash your hands because you can get some funky mites. What? Where? What?
Oh, I see them.
The birds. I'll put the scope on them. Obviously, they're moving. When they get closer, perhaps we'll be able to hear them. All right, they're in the scope. You want to take a look? You might have to move and follow them. Sandhill cranes are different subspecies or races of cranes. Lessers obviously smaller than greaters, and during good years there'll be tens of thousands of them in the southern High Plains area, overwintering in playas and salinas and stuff. And these will breed northern Canada, Alaska, and Siberia. And so they overwinter Texas, New Mexico, down into Old Mexico, and they make that journey. So from basically Siberia to Mexico and back every year of their lives, and they can live over 30 years. And so their lifetime distance is more than traveling to the moon. That's how far that these things fly. And notice, they're in a nice V formation aerodynamically. That is an aerodynamic flight formation. And they're probably coming here going, "Why is there no water? This is where we normally are." Yeah.